Hello, today I wanted to share some of the bats in my Buster Posey collection, if more than nothing else, to illustrate some of the principles that guide why I collect and how I select items to collect. Every player who plays a full season in the major leagues probably goes through anywhere from 40 to 70 bats per season and maybe, I don't know, 25 jerseys a season. And so there's a lot of stuff out there. Most of that stuff probably does make it onto the market to get sold. And so as a collector, you have a lot of choices about what you want. If you want a Posey bat, well, what kind of criteria do you use to try to find one? Do you just buy the cheapest one you can find, or do you look for certain characteristics? Some people collect based on the grading of the bats. How much use did it get? How much player characteristics does the bat show? For myself, what guides my purchases are more about how it was used, the significance of what Posey did with the bat, the games that he used it for, what was the context of his use. Was it used in a pennant race, or did it help the Giants during their pursuit of a World Series championship? Did he hit a home run with it? Was it a significant home run that had some meaning? Those are some of the criteria I use. For me, collecting game used memorabilia is really about collecting memories. So, for instance, as a dedicated Giants fan, I remember significant moments during the recent Giants seasons. For instance, I remember where I was when Tim Lincecum pitched his first and second no-hitter. I remember in the second no-hitter I was working, and everyone at my workplace left their posts to watch the final outs of Lincecum's second no-hitter. It's stuff like that as a Giants fan are burned into our memories, and if we can find some game-used items from some of these significant games, it's like collecting these memories and having a way to memorialize them, so to speak. So that's how I collect. It's all about collecting specific memories. And the good thing about modern era game used is that with the abundance of images, photographs that are taken now, and with high definition video, it's actually not hard to photo match the items that you buy before you buy it, to do your research before you buy it and try to photo match these items to significant games or significant at-bats, so that it's more than just about collecting a Posey bat or collecting 50 Posey bats. It's really about collecting the Posey bats that evoke a certain memory or a certain game that you cherish, or a certain period of time during for instance, the Giants championship era. So let me share with a few of these bats with you to kind of illustrate what I mean. The first bat is this 2010 rookie Buster Posey bat, Louisville Slugger, that was used during the 2010 season. And I've done multiple photo matches of this bat. You can see it's absolutely pounded. And these early career Buster Posey bats tended to be Louisville Slugger ash bats, and ash bats tend to stay together and not break as easily as the maple bats that he used later. So characteristically, his early bats are just totally pounded with use. And in fact, this one's not broken, so we took this one out of circulation before it broke. And I photo matched this to a very special point in time in Posey's career. The first photo match I made was in late June, and I photo matched it all the way up through, I think the last date was July 11th. So for a pretty significant run, 2 weeks. He was called up that season in late May, I believe May 28th. And the Giants in 2010, nobody expected them to be a contender in 2010. They were a rebuilding team. They had some good young pitching, but their hitting was really suspect. They had a bunch of players off the trash heap that they had gotten, like Aubrey Huff, players that nobody expected to do well. And they were sort of a 500 ball club, and they were expected to perform at like a 500 ball club level. And in fact, before Posey was recalled on May 28th, their record was like 25-22, so they basically were a 500 team. But after Posey was called up, they caught fire, and ended up eventually winning their division, of course, and then winning the World Series. And a lot of people point to the day that Posey was called up as the turning point for when this 500 ball club turned into this juggernaut that went all the way to the World Series. And there's justification for that. In July, in Posey's second full month, he went on a tear and went on this 21-game hitting streak. And I remember just how exciting that was to watch Posey during this 21-game hitting streak. And during that streak, he helped the Giants win tons of games. In fact, the Giants went 17-4 during his 21-game hitting streak. So you can imagine, 500 ball club before Posey was called up, and then after, when he went on this absolute tear early in his rookie season, they were 17-4. And the cool thing about this Posey bat was this bat was used square in the middle of that July 21-game hitting streak, used during the first half of July up through July 11th. And I photo matched it to several hits from that 21-game hit streak. The other cool thing about this bat is that I was able to photo match it to his second career Major League home run, as well as his 7th Major League career home run. He also hit a bunch of home runs in between 2 and 7, which I couldn't photo match it to, but the images from those games were really fuzzy, and I couldn't make the match. But nonetheless, second career home run, a milestone of sorts. So for me, this bat really evokes the moment when the Giants' championship window opened. People really do point to Posey being recalled from AAA and transforming that team into a championship team, and as the beginning of the Giants' 2010 through 2014 championship era. And this bat was squarely involved during those moments, and for that reason, it's probably it's my favorite Posey bat in my collection. Really, just full of sentimental value for me as a Giants fan. So let me go ahead and talk about another Posey bat. This one's from 2013. And I should mention, neither the 2010 nor the 2013 bat were authenticated by Major League Baseball. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they weren't used, obviously. It really does behoove one to look at bats, even without authentication, and try to photo match them yourself. In both cases, I photo matched both of these bats before I purchased them, and so I knew what I was getting. At any rate, moving on to this bat from 2013, another Louisville Slugger bat. That was Posey's preferred maker of bats through 2013. In 2014, he started transitioning to Marucci. But this particular bat, I was able to photo match to July 13, 2013, and as I alluded to earlier in the discussion, this was from Tim Lincecum's first no-hitter, a game that is also legendary among Giants fans. And Posey used this bat in the no-hitter and got 3 hits. I photo matched it to one of the singles that he hit in that game. He scored 3 runs and was basically one of the offensive heroes in that game. You can see once again it has quite a bit of use, quite a bit of ink transfers, mud transfers. But again, I'm not content to just buy a random Posey bat, but rather I will patiently wait for something like this to show up on the market. I pretty much do research on any Posey bats that come up on the market and try to see if I can photo match them to something significant. And if I can, then I go after it. And that was the case with this one. Once I photo matched it to Lincecum's no-hitter, this was a bat that I really wanted to have, and I was able to negotiate for it and get it. But once again, a bat from a really historic game. I think 40 years from now, people will still be talking about the Lincecum no-hitters, and it's just really cool to own something from the Giants' star player, biggest offensive star player, and biggest offensive star in that game. Something that was used in the no-hitter itself. So I have a few more bats to share. This one, this is a 2014 bat. As I talked about before, by 2014 he started transitioning from Louisville Slugger to Marucci, and then post 2015 and later he basically exclusively used Marucci's. This was used by Posey in September of 2014, and I was able to photo match it to 9 games in September, including a game in which he hit career home run 82. It's signed by him. Career home run 82. This one does have MLB authentication, although it was not authenticated to that home run, but I was able to make the photo match to that game, as well as 8 other games. What was attractive to me about this bat, in addition to the home run, was that this too was used in the middle of a pennant race. 2014, of course, was another World Series championship season for the Giants. And September 2014 was really the thick of the pennant race. The Giants just barely squeaked into the wild card that year. Posey in September, using this bat for 9 games, ended up batting like 367 during the 9 games he used this bat for, including the home run and 5 RBIs. And so, to me, this bat has significance because it was used by their star player, in the middle of a pennant race, in the thick of the pennant race in September, and he did awesome with this bat, and the Giants just barely squeaked into the playoffs, this bat contributed to the Giants getting into the playoffs, and eventually, which would lead to their 3rd World Series win. A note about home run bats, before I go on to the next bat. Most bats are not MLB authenticated to home runs. Usually they're just authenticated to the last play, which is usually a foul ball that breaks the bat, or some other hit or out that caused the bat to break, and then it's authenticated to that play. And so there's very few known home run bats out there. Of course, there are a lot of home run bats out there, but most people don't know that they even have a home run bat. Because at least at this point in the hobby, this time point, most people aren't photo matching their bats to things like home runs. But pretty much almost the only way you can get a home run bat now is to research the bat and try to photo match it retrospectively to a home run, because most bats aren't being authenticated that way. So Buster Posey, doesn't hit a lot of home runs anymore. So there aren't a lot of home run bats from Posey being produced anymore. So I'm always happy to try to get my hands on significant home run bats from Posey whenever I can research it and match one. So the next bat is also from the 2014 season, and I just show this bat for the purposes of showing a bat that I'm actually kind of not all that excited about. This is also from Buster Posey. The reason I bought this bat was because at the time I bought it, I didn't have a 2014 Posey bat, and because that's a World Championship year, I thought that it would be cool to have a World Championship year Posey bat from 2014. Why are World Championship season bats more special than just regular other years? In my opinion, is because this bat was used in meaningful games. They were used in games that did contribute to the Giants going all the way to a World Series. That being said, I think this bat was authenticated to like a flyout off Paul Mahomes in May of 2014. So Posey didn't really do anything special with it. I tried to photo match it to something special, and I couldn't really find anything. So it's sort of the lowly stepchild of the other Posey bats I own. I don't have a lot of affection for this bat. I've thought about selling it, but because it's still a 2014 bat, I still kind of hang on to it. And at any rate, that's an example of a bat that doesn't get me too excited because it really wasn't used for anything significant. The last bat from Posey that I have to show is this bat, and probably the main reason I've kept this bat is because this was the first bat I ever purchased. I bought it off of eBay back in 2017, and I bought it because it was photo matched by someone else to a Posey home run. This bat's from 2016, so that was not a championship season, and Posey used this bat for a home run off of John Lester against the Chicago Cubs, and at the time I didn't really know that much about player use characteristics, but this was one of the rare bats that have lizard skin that were used by Posey. He sort of throughout his career has consistently put a moderate amount of Motostick or pine tar starting from the handle all the way down to the knob. And then in 2016, just for a few bats, he started toying with lizard skin, and then subsequently abandoned it, and subsequent bats after this bat actually had no more lizard skin. So sort of an unusual bat for him. I guess he didn't really like the lizard skin, even though he hit a home run with this bat. It is a home run bat, which is kind of cool, but from a season that didn't go all that well for the Giants, it's definitely not one of the most significant bats I own, but because it was the very first bat that I ever bought, it still has a very sentimental place in my collection. Those are bats from my Posey bat collection, and hope that illustrates some of the principles of how I collect, and what criteria I use to decide out of the many bats that are out there which ones I actually want to pursue after researching them.